Okay, everybody, welcome back to Tech Gumbo. I'm Haggai Davis II, along with Haggai Davis III. On this show, we dive deep into the world of technology. We break it down in a way that's relevant, interesting, and most importantly, easy to understand. No tech jargon, no alphabet soup of acronyms, just plain talk about the tech that matters to you and me.
Speaking of what matters, a big shout out to Cardinal Capital. Now, running a business can be tough. Even if you have a solid bank relationship, challenges can pop up. Maybe you need to consolidate debt, smooth out your cash flow, or invest in new equipment to fuel your growth. If that sounds familiar, Cardinal Capital is your secret weapon. These guys are business champions with access to over 4,000 lenders, meaning they can find the perfect financial partner for your unique needs. Chris, Gary, and Rob at Cardinal Capital don't just find you money, they translate your business story into banker speak, ensuring that you get the best deal possible. Think of them as your financial matchmakers. They'll get to know your business inside and out, and they pair you with the lender that's the perfect fit. No matter how complex your situation, they'll work their magic to maximize your profits and set your business up for success. Plus, they'll make the whole process smooth and enjoyable. Want to learn more? Head over to their website at cardinalcap.net. Give them a call, 225-308-3700, or shoot them an email, info@cardinalcap.net. Now let's get back to talking tech.
Okay, Mr. Davis, let's do ourselves some tech gumbo for the day.
Sounds great.
Start off with the news and updates. Getting over there with our friends from Apple. And the App Store is getting some changes.
That's right. Apple lost a lawsuit. And as a result, this means that they can no longer require all transactions to go through them. The reason this is important is because Apple was charging a 30% commission on all sales on the App Store, even inside of apps. And they were saying that all of those sales had to go through their platform. That set off the huge lawsuit between Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, and Apple's complied in name only, lost a second round, and that's what's really forcing here, is that truly the change is happening now.
Amazon's Kindle has taken notice.
In the Kindle app on the iPhone, previously, Amazon wouldn't let you buy books through the Kindle app. What Amazon would do is Amazon would direct you out to a link not in the app, and then you'd have to buy the book through a website. Well, now that Apple's not charging that commission anymore, that's what is changed, is that now you can buy the book directly through the Kindle app. And so you'll also see this in like Netflix and Spotify, that now you can renew your subscription for those streaming services directly in the app. Because again, prior to that, if you had theoretically tried to renew your subscription through the Apple app, Netflix would have had to have charged you that additional 30% on top. And so that's why they always pushed you out to a website.
If you're an app developer, why would you want your payments to go through the App Store, period? Why is anybody still wanting to go that route?
So the problem now is that it does take time and money to build your own payment system, and then or implement a payment system, and so that you do have the option to now go with a third party payment system, but they do still either have some upfront costs or they do still charge their own percentage. This is basically just forcing Apple to be more competitive. That if Apple can make the argument that their first party payment system is so good that it's worth that percentage, then maybe some of the smaller developers will stick along with it. But I would suspect that any app above a certain size is going to no longer have those payments happen directly through the App Store in the same way.
Okay. So if you are an Apple product owner, iPhones, iPads, Macs, those types of things, and you've had Siri, who just kind of looked like it was listening anytime it was mentioned, or if you've been concerned, you can now you can now be a part of the $95 million Siri settlement.
That's right. There was a huge class action lawsuit, And if you owned or purchased any Siri-enabled device between September 17th, 2014 and December 31st, 2024, so more than a decade, and that's iPhones, iPads, Apple Watches, MacBooks, iMacs, HomePods, iPod Touches, and Apple TVs. If you owned any one of those devices over the past decade, and importantly, you notice Siri activating itself and listening when you did not specifically intend to use it, then you are entitled to a monetary compensation.
Yes, you can get up to $20 per device or a total of $100. Now, you have to file this claim sometime before July 2nd. You need to go to the website lopezvoiceassistantsettlement.com and fill out the form.
I'm not a huge Mac person, but I definitely have had one or two Mac devices in that time frame. And so I know that you guys have several iPhones over there at home. I think that the Davis family is going to get our share of this class action lawsuit.
Woohoo! We're going to be rich. You're right. Okay, moving along. Uber says that the Waymo Robotaxis on its app in the city of Austin, Texas, are busier than almost every human driver driving for Uber.
This is one, an incredible accomplishment, but two, not necessarily surprising. That at this point in time, Waymo's been operating very successfully for a while now. I think that to this point in time, because it has been, at first it was just that suburb outside of Phoenix, and then then it was in San Francisco for a while, and you're like, well, okay, it's over there in San Francisco, and they're their own thing. But then it went to Los Angeles, and it did about a year or so in Los Angeles, and I recently rode in one, and it was fantastic. And now it's in Austin, and it's coming to Atlanta, and then Miami, and then DC. I think very quickly the country's about to wake up to the fact that autonomous vehicles are here, and they're good. And that's what we're seeing in Austin.
So Uber, the ride-sharing giant, has struck deals with a lot of these different companies for its robotaxi firm. But, Tesla is saying, hey, we're coming into Austin here soon. We're going to be there. We're going to be a competitor. We'll see how that plays out. One of the interesting things I've read, because I've read several articles about this now, one of the things that's most attractive to these people is they don't have to tip the autonomous vehicle because there's no driver. You're not obligated or feel guilty about tipping the robot.
Yeah, if you have a 3-star ride and you tell it 3 stars, you're not worried that Uber's going to derank that car, and that person who is depending upon that Uber for their livelihood. There's been this weird culture around Uber wherever you're supposed to give 5 stars unless it was truly a terrible and dangerous ride. Well, yeah, as you pointed out, it's just a car. You don't have to tip it, and it's a good experience too. I think that's a good point. And they also are loving Texas because there's no regulations in Texas. I think Waymo right now is receiving a huge benefit of the doubt because of how sterling their safety record is. It is incredibly impressive. They actually just released a research paper. It went through peer review, and a published research paper doing an in-depth safety study on different types of crashes and their vehicles versus the standard driver. And they were able to very concretely show how much safer they are. And so if it is definitively safer than a human driver, and it's cheaper, and all these other things, and it's just sitting there always running, you don't have to worry about how far away it is because they're always nearby, and they're electric, so they're not burning gas, and so your cost of operation is lower. You can really see how all of a sudden a lot of these factors are coming together, and this is the only limit to their growth is just how many can you actually buy at once.
So what's interesting to me, and having just spent a week there in New York City with you and taking Ubers and Lyfts all over the place, how many people are going to be out of jobs who's been building their careers or building their livelihoods of driving people all over the place? This is going to force a lot of people to have to retrain to do something different.
Oh, absolutely. That this is going to be a huge disruptor. And it's something that people have been talking about in the transportation space for a while, that driver as a job category is a large one in the US. That you have Uber driver, taxi driver, truck driver, limo driver. There's a lot of different categories of person whose job it is to move motor vehicle from point A to point B, whether it's people in the back or goods in the back. And Waymo is showing that, we're pretty good at the people thing, and long haul freight. Whenever it's just okay, take the truck down the a straight line on the interstate, that's very easy. And I think I'm honestly surprised that we don't see more of that yet. There's a company called Aurora, which has been around for a little while. They are the first company to successfully do a driverless heavy duty launch on public roads in the US. They've done a couple routes back and forth between Houston and Dallas so far. I think this is another one of those things wherever we are right there on the tipping point, because this is coming, and it's going to drive costs through the floor. And in very competitive industries, wherever every dollar matters for this long haul freight, if you're not paying a driver, if you're not worried about a driver, falling asleep and having a crash, this is coming.
The other interesting thing about that long haul truck is right now, if you've got a driver, they cannot do more than 8 hours in a day. Well, this truck could go 24 straight if it's got enough battery or enough diesel on it to where you're cutting the delivery time by 2/3 to get something from point A to point B if you're moving something from Los Angeles to Dallas on that long stretch just through the middle of nowhere. Well, now you can do that overnight almost, or in one straight run instead of over 2.5 days.
I very much agree with your point about autonomous vehicles don't have to rest, and you're going to switch from your choke point being your fuel tank to the human. Well, once you remove the human, that as battery technology continues to get better, right now, battery electric trucks are capped at about 250, maybe 300 miles. That this technology, battery technology, is still very new. It's less than 10 years old that we've really been trying this, and new technologies are on the horizon, that new chemistries for these batteries, that they're talking about very optimistic numbers. I'm not 100% sure if I believe them yet, because they're still a couple of years out. We still have to see that it actually is capable of getting there. But if you are able to get to 400 miles, 500 miles, 600 miles on a single charge, like they're talking about might be possible, that radically reshapes how we move freight across the country.
Well, even before then, before we get to the different batteries, if you just put two more diesel tanks on that truck for the next year or two, and that truck can now, instead of going 500 miles, can go 1,200 miles without stopping to refuel because it's got an autonomous driver. That speeds things up dramatically as to how you're moving freight around the country.
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of people looking at this and just seeing the dollar signs. And the technology has to be right first. It has to work. It has to be safe. That's the reason why Waymo has been given so much leeway, is because of how good their safety record is. And these freight trucks, you can make even fewer mistakes when you're driving an 18-wheeler than when you're driving a passenger car. And so these companies like Aurora, and there's two or three others who are in this space, have to be even safer. But as long as they are truly keeping safety paramount here, they will be given the freedom to do this. And it is going to be huge for, the next decade plus.
Well, just a prime example right here in the Baton Rouge area. When you're coming in from Lafayette on I-10 heading east towards Baton Rouge, a lot of times we have weather, rain, fog events kind of thing as you're approaching the Mississippi River. And there's a bend in I-10 where these truck drivers aren't slowing down and they're causing multiple car pileups, killing people. Well, if this autonomous vehicle is using the radar, using the LiDAR, and it knows things are stopped way in advance, well, you're not going to have those accidents anymore. Yes, let's do that.
Absolutely. The potential to save lives here is also incredibly high. And that's really why this technology is exciting, is that one, yes, the efficiency gains will be noticeable in a large number of places in our life. But as you pointed out, that ability to not have people die in car crashes, that it's been between 40 and 50,000 people per year every year since the 70s. And we finally are getting close to the technology to bring that number down. And it really is awesome.
Well, young traffic system engineers like yourself will just have to make sure that all that does happen, won't you?
Fingers crossed.
Moving along, the HBO Max, HBO naming, the naming game continues to change, and now they're back from Max to HBO Max again.
This is so ridiculous. They were HBO Go, then they were HBO Now, they were HBO Max, they were just Max, they're back to HBO Max. It feels very clear that the people in charge have no idea what they're doing. The first name was fine. HBO Go, that's a great name. HBO Now, also a great name. Call it HBO Plus. I don't care. Just pick one and stick with it. And the fact that they are just flip-flopping back and forth is worse. It just looks like incompetence, and it's baffling.
HBO's been around since the 70s, and everybody knows the name HBO. And the HBO originals, and oh, by the way, even though the company has been Max for however long, they're still HBO originals. And it just quit being stupid. Quit trying to play the debrand, rebrand. I mean, even John Oliver on his show, he's on that network and he's making fun of them.
Well, I think this is something that Disney actually does really well. Their streaming platform is Disney Plus, but then you can see, okay, here is Star Wars, here is this, here is that. And so you have the buckets underneath the main one, and they're very comfortable calling it Disney Plus. It has been Disney Plus since the beginning, but all of the sub branches are still there. There's Pixar. You can go straight to the Pixar. They could have done the same thing here. They could have just had one streaming platform come up with some name for the whole thing, and then just have HBO be one of the buckets underneath it. Have the Warner Brothers content be a bucket underneath it. Have Discovery be one of the buckets underneath it. And that way each one gets to keep their same brand recognition, and that you still get to have your HBO dramas, which are your high quality, your originals, which maybe aren't necessarily family friendly. And so you do want them somewhere separate than your Discovery. We'll just have Discovery be its own bucket. There are ways to do this. This is not a hard problem to solve, and it's just so baffling that they keep stepping on the rake here.
And Sesame Street is now going to be on Netflix. The little dance they did for a short time with Max didn't work out too very well. And Netflix jumped in and said, hey, we'll throw you the lifeline because we don't want to see Sesame Street go away. It's been 56 years that Sesame Street's been around. And I think this is great for Netflix to pick this up and run with it.
And it doesn't seem like they're trying to really turn a profit here, because one thing that they're doing that, again, Max didn't do, is that every episode is airing at the same time on PBS and the PBS subscription platform as it is on Netflix. So you don't even need to have the Netflix account to see the Sesame Street content, which I think is a great move because it shows that they are investing in public education, but also they know that if you're on the Netflix app and you have a kid and you want them to watch something, you want them to watch Sesame Street.
You bet. When you're driving down the road going to see grandma and it's a 2 hour drive and the kid's got an iPad in the back seat and you can put it on Netflix and just let Sesame Street run for the 2 hours, you bet they want that's a nice easy. They don't have to go to the PBS app and try and find. No, no, no. Here, kid, you know how to tap the Netflix app, tap Sesame Street, go. Now I can drive in peace. Of course, mom and dad want to do that. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Gumbo. A big shout out to our sponsor, General Informatics, the premier IT managed service provider with clients across the country. General Informatics is all about making complex IT simple by helping clients become more successful through technology. We are a one-stop shop for all your IT needs, from managed services and cybersecurity to custom solutions and expert advice. Founded right here in Baton Rouge, General Informatics has a long history of innovation, constantly evolving to meet the growing needs of our clients. Whether you're a business, a school, or a government agency, they have the expertise to manage your entire digital infrastructure, letting you focus on what you do best. So if you're looking to upgrade your IT systems, boost your cybersecurity, or simply have a tech question, head over to our website at geninf.com.
And don't forget, we are here for you every weekend on Talk 107.3 FM. If you've missed an episode or want to revisit a great tech discussion, we've got you covered there. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss us. And hey, we also love hearing from our listeners. If you have any suggestions, you want to submit a question, or you just want to say hi, head over to our website at www.techgumbo.net. Thanks again for joining us on Tech Gumbo.